What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and great game. All around, just really great game. I obviously I do have some issues here and there that we'll talk about, but I mean, 3-1 against Man City is just it's so much better than I expected. I kind of put it in like I do Premier League predictions. I put it in just hopeful, like maybe this will be our time, and it was. I mean, it was such a well planned performance. First half we kind of didn't really take it to them as much as we could have. When we did, we didn't hold on to the ball well enough. Defensively, we seemed pretty solid until that one mistake. Just so all around it was really, really well, really, really well done. But before I talk about players and stuff like that, I do want to address the controversy in the game because obviously there are a few calls that need to be looked at. 2 red cards at the end of the game. So, first one to talk about is, of course, the David Luiz one. Was it a block off? Was it deserving of a red card? Was he the last defender? All that stuff. In my opinion, yes, he did step in his way. But I think the reason the referee didn't call it is, one, he didn't really throw himself into Aguero. He just sort of stepped in his way. And Aguero could have stepped around him. Maybe could have, if he had stayed on his feet and tried to go around him, maybe he would have given him an obstruction call. But the other reason is because he flopped to the ground. I mean, David Luiz stepped in his way, but Aguero threw himself to the ground. There was no shove, there was no shoulder charge, there was no real intention to trip him up. He put himself in the way of his run. And the fact that Aguero flopped, that's what caused the referee to say no. Because honestly, you look at the rest of the game, he really didn't call a whole lot of fouls, especially when players were throwing themselves to the ground. I mean, there were a few on Hazard where I'm like, how is that not a foul? It's because he's looking at it and saying, oh, well, he threw himself, and that's what he sees. So I think that's why the referee didn't call it, and honestly, I mean, you really look at the rest of the game, like I said, it was fair. There were several calls on both sides of it that he didn't call. He let the game play. He let some of these challenges come in. So, obviously as a Chelsea fan, I see things a lot differently. Most Man City fans will probably look at that and say, clearly it's a red card, but you look at the game in context, you look at all the other things that he didn't call, and it kind of makes sense. The other couple ones that people are going to be talking about, the Conte one, I think even most of the people in the studio agreed it wasn't a penalty. Conte got his foot in first on the ball. You could slow it down. You could see that his foot was there first. So, good no call there. And then, of course, the final thing to talk about, the red cards at the end, the whole scuffle. Obviously, red card for Aguero. He's really in danger of missing the next few games because that was it was reckless. It was clearly out of frustration because 2 feet, studs up, pretty much jumped into the challenge, just trying to take out David Luiz. So clear red card there. I will say that I'm very glad that Chalobah didn't get a red because when you come over to a player and even if you don't really push them, even if you just sort of step up and give them this light shove and they fall over, there's still the chance that the referee can look at that and say that's worthy of a red. So the fact that he only got a yellow, I think, is very fortunate for him. But of course, Fernandinho getting a red was also deserved because you can't choke a player. You can't put your hand near his face, especially pushing him off the field. So of all the controversy, I'll say the referee did he did a good job overall. There were some that I felt like Chelsea deserved, but then there are some that Man City fans will probably feel like they deserve. So I feel like both sides of it was very even. It wasn't like he was calling it better for one team or the other. So let's talk about the player performances. Because all around, most players had a good game. So first one, of course, to talk about is Thibaut. Because he had to make some really good saves today. I mean, there's one in the first half where Aguero had a shot and he had to get a hand to it and touch it over and did well there. There were a couple one-on-one chances that he managed to get in front of. I mean, De Bruyne had one in the second half where he goes for the far post and Courtois sticks out his right leg, makes the block. So he did a very good job today. Had to make some really, really good saves. Defense, Cahill. It's hard for me because I feel like I'm overly critical of Cahill because, I mean, there are certain players, Mikel, I'm also very overcritical of, mainly because their past performances aren't great. I mean, Mikel last season, I was very critical of him because every game it felt like he's not doing enough. He's not doing enough defensively. He's turning off in key situations. Cahill today, obviously the own goal, big mistake. You throw your left leg at it, you use your left leg and kick it away from the goal instead of flinging your right leg up, and it's not an own goal. The danger is gone. It wasn't even really that great of a cross. It was at the first defender. So the fact that he wasn't in the right position to clear it, he sticks his right leg out instead of his left leg, it's a poor mistake. After that, it was hit and miss. Aside from that mistake, I would say he had an average game because there were moments where he got caught stepping out. There were moments where he kind of turned off instead of tracking his player. There was one moment where Alonso had a poor back pass to Courtois, but it still came to Cahill, and instead of just clearing it out, he just stands there waiting for Courtois to come 10 yards to come pick it up. Aguero pokes in behind, nearly gets a goal, but luckily Cahill managed to make up for that mistake and block the shot. So if it were any other defender, I'd probably say, the mistake was a mistake, but he worked hard after that to make up for that. Defensively he worked hard, still made some critical mistakes that he managed to make up for later. But because it's Cahill, because of the mistakes he's made in the past few games, because he's such a problem defender in my opinion, I feel like that's why I'm more critical of him than I am of some of the other defenders, because he's made these mistakes before, because he's caused goals to happen in the past, obviously not in the past few games, I meant further back, Swansea, Liverpool, Arsenal, those games, he had some issues. And so the fact that he's still having these issues, the fact that he's still giving up a goal because he's not throwing the right leg up, because he's not making the right decisions, he's still getting caught out of position too much. That's why I'm so critical of him. And I feel like if he's not fixing these problems, he's going to lose his spot as soon as either Zuma or Terry are ready to play, because both of them aren't going to make these critical errors. At least I hope not. Zuma, who knows after coming back from his knee, but I don't understand why he can't make the decision to throw the left leg up and clear it out instead of just, I got it, guys, and flicking it on into goal. So, on to the other defenders. David Luiz really the past couple of games is starting to show that he still lacks that certain key defensive element. Going forward, he does well. He still does well when the ball comes in on a cross, but it's whenever you face teams that can move the ball around up top. Tottenham, Arsenal, Man City, teams like that move the ball very well up top. He's not good in those situations. He gets caught stepping out too high. He gets caught stepping into a challenge, and all of a sudden it's flicked past him, and now he's beat. So I think we probably have better options to put there than David Luiz. But luckily, on the right side, Azpilicueta is, I think this game probably shows more than any other game just how key he is in the back. Because honestly, he got called on more often than most of the time to step in, make that challenge, put Aguero off so he doesn't have that chance to have a clear shot. There's one where Aguero was through on goal. Here comes Azpilicueta across the back, and he's cutting off that far post angle, so the only thing he has is to kick it right at Courtois. So I love watching him defend. I even have a little theme song for him whenever he does something. Just Azpilicueta, and that's it. I mean, I had to say that so many times today because that's how often he got involved. That's how often he is stepping in, making that challenge, doing the defensive work. Easily the best defensive player we have right now. Don't ever take him out of the back line. I don't care that he's more of a fullback. Clearly, he is showing he has the quality to be one of those three defensive players. So on to the wingbacks, Alonso and Moses. Moses today really, you could see he's clearly got the quality to be in that right wingback position. Couple times maybe got caught out, but I think a lot of that is because he's more attack minded. He likes to step out and get in the attack, and so even then he's still working hard to get back behind the ball. It's just there are certain moments where you can see, like there was one where Sane got the run in behind him and he's not really tracking him, and he should be. But that was one moment out of the entire first half that happened. The rest of the time he's tracking his man very well. He's putting in good challenges. He's just a really good wingback, and I really enjoy watching him play. Alonso, not as effective today. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Jesus Navas has a lot of speed. And honestly, I feel like that's all Navas has, but I'm not critiquing Man City players. But that's why Alonso had such a hard time today, because he doesn't have a whole lot of speed. So Navas is constantly putting pressure on him, constantly making him work. He doesn't have the speed or the quickness to get the ball out of a tight situation. And whenever he's attacking, Navas is quicker than him, so he gets back and gets behind the ball. So Alonso didn't have a lot of free room to run today, and was constantly put under pressure, and it showed. And honestly, there were a few times where he gave away the ball pretty cheaply. So I feel like that may be a problem later on, and I honestly do think that part of that problem can be fixed if you have a quicker center back on that side instead of Gary Cahill. But for what it's worth, he did well getting back behind the ball, working defensively, and I think that's what we needed from him today. So he did well there. Conte and Fabregas in the midfield. Conte, I don't have anything to say about him because it's Conte. He did what he always does. He constantly puts in challenges. He's constantly working hard to win the ball back. Even moving the ball around, he did pretty well today. A couple times gave it away, but for the most part, it was really good. So I could talk about him forever, but honestly, all I gotta say is it's Conte. It's what he does. Fabregas is the one, though, that I do want to mention because Matic was out with an injury. Fabregas does come in, and it was kind of a question of how is he going to do, because there's been a lot of talk that he's leaving in January. There's been a lot of talk that he's not going to fit into this system, and it is a question of can he do what Matic does. Matic is always a threat, just like Conte. He's constantly stepping in, winning the ball. He's got a big frame, so he's a much bigger threat in the midfield. And honestly, from what I saw, Fabregas played really well today. And it was kind of a shockingly good performance, because most of the time what I expect from him is if you give him time in the midfield, he'll find that long ball. But if you press him hard, most of the time he struggles there. From what I saw today, though, and this may have to do with the fact that because Conte encourages such high press, maybe he's had to face that so much in training that he got used to it. But under pressure today, he did well. And obviously it was the moments where they weren't pressuring that he was the most dangerous. But even when he was under pressure, he still managed to get the ball out. He still managed to move it out wide to one of the wingbacks or get it back to one of the defenders. He didn't flop under pressure. He didn't struggle under pressure. And that's normally where he struggles the most. So I think it was a real improvement from him. And even defensively, he still worked hard. You can see there are moments where he doesn't have the pace. I don't get the calls at the house. It's probably some telemarketer. But you can see there are moments where he struggles with the pace. He struggles with the endurance to go all game. Conte can go forever and ever and ever. Fabregas, you can see there are moments where at the end of the game he's struggling because he doesn't have the fitness. He doesn't have the endurance that Conte does. But still played really well. Great assists. Actually, 2 great assists. Yeah, Hazard's was his assist too. I mean, really, really played well. I'm happy with what I saw. Up into the top 3, talking about Pedro first because he came off fairly early with an injury in the second half. Did okay. I think there's still some moments, though, where you can see he lacks a bit of quality up top. There are moments where the ball gets stuck under his feet or he doesn't move it out quick enough. But I think what we needed today from him was to work hard. to work hard to win the ball back, and that's what he did. There's one moment where it looks like Aguero might be through, and here comes Pedro just flying, staying in front of him, wins the ball off of him, and honestly, I think that's where he ended up getting the injury from. But I mean, that's kind of what I expect whenever I see him in the team. I expect him to work hard defensively, to win the ball back, to make sure that the defense for Man City doesn't have a whole lot of time to play. He does that very well. And then, of course, Hazard and Costa, I mean, what can I say? Hazard today, both halves for the most part. Second half, maybe before he came off, slowed down a little bit, but constant threat today. Just constantly beating the defense. Even in the first half, it looked like if we were going to get a chance, it was going to come through him because he's just so quick on the turn, and the defense had no answer for it. It was so easy for him to do it. It was incredible to watch him play today. Probably one of his best performances this season. Same for Costa. First half, he got a little bit isolated. He had trouble really, you have those three defenders constantly putting pressure on him, and he really wasn't able to play his aggressive game today. Most of the time, he plays very aggressive. He plays strong, and the referee really wasn't allowing a lot to happen for the defenders. In the midfield, he let a lot go, but whenever it was one of the strikers or attackers putting a challenge in on the defenders, that's where he called a lot of the fouls. So Costa really wasn't allowed to do much in the first half. Second half, though, I don't know what he changed. I don't know if he switched up his game a little bit, but holy crap, he was on fire second half. He got himself an assist, got himself a goal. He looked just incredible the second half. The Willian assist was just a great little turn and finds Willian through with a ton of speed behind him. It was amazing. The goal was a nice little chest trap, beats Otamendi with strength, and then just powers it home in the near post. He played amazing today, and easily one of his best performances this season as well. So the fact that Hazard and Costa were both on today really helped us come back in the second half. And then on top of that, you bring Willian in the second half, and Willian was on fire today. I mean, he has a lot of pace. That's what we expect to see from him. But on top of that, he looked ready. You could see he hasn't played a whole lot recently. He hasn't gotten a lot of game time because Pedro's been playing well. But today he was determined that he was going to win his spot back. And I would say, in my heart, he won his spot back. I mean, just looked so good on the counter, on the defense. He was everywhere today, it felt like. And it's kind of funny seeing you've got Moses and Willian on that side. Man City players must hate playing on that side because they couldn't do anything there because you've got Willian to get past. You get past him, you've got Moses to get past. You get past him, you've got Azpilicueta, and you're not getting past Azpilicueta. I don't care what you say, you're not getting past Azpilicueta. So it was brilliant performance from Willian. And then on top of that, come around the 75th minute, Costa looks like he picked up. I think he was just exhausted. I don't think he was really injured, but you see he's wanting to come off, so bring on Chalobah. And that was kind of a surprise for me. I expected to see Batshuayi come on, so to see Chalobah come on, I was pleasantly surprised because, with him coming on, it kind of shows that Conte does trust him. And that's big, especially for somebody who's young. It's big to see one of our youth players get some more time on the first team, especially in big games where you're facing Man City away at the Etihad. To get him some good game time, that's really, really good. And frankly, I thought he did well. He's fast, he's got a good pass on him, he's got a good touch, and on top of that, he won the ball back for Fabregas to play it up to Hazard for the third goal. So I was really pleased to see him get some time. And the last one was Hazard comes off for Batshuayi, and just give Batshuayi a chance to run his legs out, do what he can. I wish I could see more of Batshuayi because honestly, I like what I see from him. I think he's a pretty good player, but just give him a few minutes every game until Costa stops playing well. Honestly, because that's why Costa keeps getting game time. But yeah, overall, really good team performance. All of the goals were well worked. Great ball from Fabregas for the first one. Great work from Costa to score it. Great work from Costa to turn Stones Then a great work from Willian to find the far post, even if Bravo probably could have done more. And then for the third goal, great work from Chalaba to win it back, great ball over the top from Fabregas, and great speed from Hazard to go and score it. So all around, really great game. Top of the table again, beat Man City away, which is a huge result, and I'm pleased. Chelsea all the way. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Who was your man of the match today? What did you think about some of the controversial calls? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews. I'll see you at the next game. Peace out.